Patch 10.1.7 releases today, and there is so much to do. But for now, servers are down. My name is Swag, and this is the Vault Day Update. First up, we have this week's dungeon affixes: Fortified, Incorporeal, and Sanguine. Incorporeal causes 1 to 2 mobs to spawn during combat. These mobs will begin casting a debuff upon the whole party. Every time the cast goes off, you will receive a debuff for 50% damage and healing, and if it goes off a second time, it will be 100% damage and healing reduced. These mobs only last for a set amount of time, so either interrupt them constantly or, more easily, cast a CC on them and get them out of the way. All CCs will work on these mobs regardless of the type that CC is effective against. Priests and Death Knights can both mind control the incorporeal mobs, causing them to cast their debuff onto your enemies. However, when this happens, it only reduces their damage and healing by 5% and then 10%. Not the same as what's cast on you, but still a big help for your group. Sanguine drops puddles on the ground every time an enemy is killed. If you stand in these puddles, you'll take damage. If your enemies stand in these puddles, they will be healed. Tanks, this is your responsibility. Make sure to keep moving the enemy out of these puddles, constantly kiting. And if your teammates have any knockback abilities, they as well can help push your enemies out of the Sanguine. This week's bonus event is Wrath of the Lich King Time Walking, which operates a little bit different than our normal Time Walking weeks. Just as you're familiar with, you can get bonus experience in Time Walking dungeons from 60 to 70, and you can pick up the weekly quest at level 70 to unlock a pretty sick piece of gear. But on top of that, the Ulduar raid is also Time Walking enabled, so if you want to get some of your friends together, head to Dollarin and you can queue up to run Ulduar together. If you're like me and you suck at PvP, but you still want those awesome transmogs that you can get from PvP, Comp Stomp is back this week. It's an Arathi Basin battleground, except instead of players, you compete against bots. And I would like to make mention that I hold the record as the only tank in the history of PvP in World of Warcraft to ever die in a Comp Stomp. I don't know if I should be proud of that. If you haven't started already, don't forget to catch up on the Secrets of Azeroth event. I believe we're 5 days in. Day 6 might be starting tomorrow, and so you don't want to miss out. Make sure you catch up. I'm not going to spoil anything, but there's some really cool implications that are going along with this scavenger hunt. And before we dive into all the 10.1.7 changes, just a reminder, the Darkmoon Fair is running all week long. So if you want to get some extra experience or reputation, or just have fun and play some games, make sure to check it out. 10.1.7 is here, and there is a lot happening, so we're going to dive right into it. The big thing coming with the patch are the Dreamsurges. Every week, one of the 4 original Dragon Isle zones will become the target of a Dreamsurge. That zone will then have portals appear every 30 minutes, and while those portals are active, players can go participate in the event trying to push back the portal. While doing so, they can pick out buffs for the whole group to receive as they work on this challenge, and players leveling in that zone will receive a 25% experience buff as well. The Dreamsurges will be great for catch-up gear for players trying to get ready for 10.2 or gearing up your alts. However, that's not the only thing that is available. There are also mounts, pets, and toys that you can get from the Dreamsurge events. One of my favorite things this season has been the Mega Dungeon Dawn of the Infinite. I love the challenge, I love the story, the characters, the drops. It has been my favorite. I've been helping like all my guildies get in there and conquer the Mega Dungeon. But it is difficult, so difficult that it even warns you at the start, asking if you're really sure, like really sure you want to run this dungeon. Starting today, there's now a heroic option for the Mega Dungeon. To avoid confusion, heroic is actually easier than the current difficulty. So the current difficulty is what would have been historically the hard mode of that dungeon, and now they're adding in a heroic difficulty, and it will be split into 2. So you'll have a section of 4 bosses, and then another section of 4 bosses that you can queue for in the Dungeon Finder. So if you've been too nervous or had trouble in the Mega Dungeon up until this point, give it a shot, and then come back and let me know. What did you think? The new Forsaken and Night Elf Heritage Armor is ready to be unlocked. The Night Elves have their armor reminiscent of original Warcraft 3 Night Elves and the box art and promotional materials for World of Warcraft, and the Forsaken are obviously trying to figure out what their identity is in a post-Sylvanas Forsaken faction. Both sets look amazing, and I know I'm going to be starting on the quests right away. If you're interested in starting on the quest yourselves, the Night Elf quest can be done at the Stormwind Embassy. You'll find a scroll sitting on the table, and the Forsaken quest can be picked up from Lillian Voss outside of Undercity. What I love about both of these factions getting their Heritage Armor now is the stories that they can potentially tell, because both the Forsaken and the Night Elves are going through something very similar. The Night Elves had their home burned down. It was an icon. It was an element of their society. It was so important. And the Forsaken had the Undercity bombed. And while they're kind of reclaiming it now and they're getting back to it, the big loss, though, was their faction leader, Sylvanas. That was their identity. And for her to betray them now makes them feel homeless as well. And so you're watching both these factions try to understand their identity, understand their home, and understand their purpose. In the new patch, Draenei will be receiving new skin colors in both red and purple shades. However, it's not today. There's a lot of miscommunication and confusion about it, but the Draenei will be getting their new skin colors next week, and there will be quests to go along with it to explain why they're getting these skin colors, because historically they were the color of the Minari, their enemies. So why now are they their friends? World of Warcraft is coming up on 20 years old, and the difficulty with a game like that is there's a lot of technology and changes in games that occur over time that you wouldn't have thought necessary when a game first launches, and later feels like a drawback as the game ages. One of those being a ping system. WoW has never really had a ping system before. Party leaders could put down markers ahead of combat, but what happens in combat when you need to communicate and say things? Well, there's now a ping system being added in with the new patch. Try it out today. There's some options already available for what types of pings you can use and mark things and communicate things. However, Blizzard does seem to be implying that there's going to be a lot more in the future that you'll be able to do with it, and that they're going to continue building it over time. Lastly, in major 10.1.7 news, the holiday events are getting a rework, and it's a pretty robust one at that. Holiday events are getting new customizations like transmogs that you can receive, and even dragon customization. Some holidays, which have historically had a big boss event that you could queue up for, now have variable difficulties for that boss. And of course, plenty more quests and story being built into these events. The first event to make use of all these updates will be Brewfest. You know what sounds better though than patch 10.1.7? Patch 11. That's right, the next expansion. And players have been theorizing over what the next expansion could be. The biggest suspicion being a pirate-themed expansion. Now, BFA felt like a pirate-themed expansion, but this would feel even more all-in on the pirate theming. It makes sense. There have been bundles in the shop. There are leaks on pirate things, notes, and documents you can find in the game itself linking towards a pirate theme in the next expansion. However, Mike Ibarra from Blizzard has gone on record to say that there will be no pirates in the next expansion. Now, I'm not sure how true that is going to be, because if we remember correctly, BFA was supposed to not be an Old God expansion, but it was an Old God expansion. Personally, though, I think this is probably the right move. BFA was just a few expansions ago. It was very pirate heavy, very seafaring heavy. Hopefully that's not the theme of where we're going, but instead just setting something up for the future. But speaking of pirates and pirate transmogs, there's a Twitch drop starting today that you can receive for watching your favorite WoW streamers on Twitch called the Buccaneer Slops. If you're trying to figure out the best way to get that Twitch drop, I have the answer. This Friday, I will be streaming World of Warcraft Classic Hardcore. I did so last week, and I'm going to be doing it again this week, but with a twist. I am letting chat try to kill me on stream. That's right, I've got plugins set up that allow chat to cause things happen to my gameplay, whether pressing buttons for me, putting things on my screen, making sound effects that confuse me, all sorts of things that could occur to get me killed in hardcore mode. The power is in your hands, chat. If you want to be a part of that, I will be live Friday, 5 to 9 p.m. Eastern time. You can head over to my Twitch account right now and hit that follow button. Otherwise, hopefully servers are back up. My name is Swag, and this has been the Vault Day Update.